PFF is running one of their biggest sales ever. 40% off a PFF Plus subscription right now using the promo code BLACKFRIDAY. That means that you get everything fully unlocked. You get the grades, you get the stats, you get all the fantasy advice, the betting advice, which our new player prop tool is available on web as well to make you a smarter, better. You've got all of the draft analysis, the free agency analysis, all of that great stuff. Subscribe.pff.com to get 40% off a year-long PFF Plus subscription. Get it now. Indianapolis Colts and the Kansas City Chiefs. Must win for Kansas City, right? 5-5. You're already most likely kissing the division title goodbye with how well the Broncos are playing and just the lead that they have now on the Kansas City Chiefs. But you go 5-6, now all of a sudden you're talking about, oh, not the division. Are we even making the playoffs at this point? So they needed this one, but they get it in overtime. 23-20. Top 5 graded players that we had for the Kansas City Chiefs. Wide receiver Rashee Rice with an 87.9 at the top of their list. Center Creed Humphrey with an 85.5. Defensive tackle Chris Jones an 82.2. Boy, was he good in this game. Leo Chanel an 81.5. Cornerback Jalen Watson then with a 77.9 to round it out at number 5. Patrick Mahomes an 82.6. They really needed him, and he stepped up in a big way. On Indianapolis' side of things, linebacker Jermaine Pratt was at the top of their list with an 82.5. Tight end Mo Alley Cox with a 74.1. Edge rusher Samson Ebukam with a 73.2. Tight end Tyler Warren a 71.2. And then cornerback Sauce Gardner rounds it out at number 5 with a 70.4. Daniel Jones in this game, a 56.6. Stat that told the story here, Dalton. What do we got?
So, Trev, behind the scenes for probably 2 or 3 weeks now, I've told you that I don't think the Colts could go into Arrowhead and win this game. And you were like, well, the Chiefs are struggling and the Colts on offense. And I said, I don't think Daniel Jones can go into this stadium.
Yeah, and I picked the Chiefs as my survivor pool team.
You're welcome.
You know, I sweating it a little bit there.
Well, sure, a little bit.
I was going to hold you accountable.
Well, the Chiefs always make you sweat nowadays. It's every week's a one-score game.
They need to keep the entertainment value up.
Absolutely. Well, they sure did in this game. But I think, to me, the biggest problem is that this Colts team against this secondary, Steve Spagnuolo's defense and his game planning and everything the Chiefs do on defense, they were just not afraid at all of the Colts making big plays and taking vertical shots on them, right? You're talking about a team that only completed 2 passes beyond 6 air yards in this game. 2 for 8, Daniel Jones was. Only 2 explosive runs the entire game, 1 from Jonathan Taylor, 1 from Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Those 2 runs accounted for 40 yards. Otherwise, they were 2 yards per carry outside of those 2 runs. Chiefs loaded the box. They were going to dare Daniel Jones to beat him. They were going to get in single high, use some man-to-man coverage. They had 7 or more guys in the box on 43 out of 50 of the Colts' offensive plays. They loaded the box. They were just going to say, you know what? We don't think you can throw it over our heads. He just never did it. He could not get it done. And I think this is the big problem now with the Colts all of a sudden on offense is that, yes, and listen, I was a believer in Daniel Jones. Mm-hmm. They're 8-3. I believed with Jones that they could make the playoffs. They could still win this division. But
totally.
But it's getting a little bit tighter right now with Jacksonville 1 game behind them and Houston's
only 2, right?
Houston's only 2, and the Colts still have to play both of them twice. Plus.
Oh, wow. This is going to get real interesting.
Oh, the AFC South's about to get wild. Plus, they have to play. So they have those 4 games, 2 Jacksonville and 2 Houston, and Seattle, San Francisco. The road.
Oh, my Lord.
The road does not get any easier for the Colts here. And
so you're saying that my Houston Texans division title prediction is still alive?
Oh, sure. I was on that too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Number 1 defense in the NFL, by the way.
Right. And the problem is if the Colts are now going to have issues, and don't forget, Jones has 10 turnover-worthy plays in his last 3 games.
Yeah.
They need to find some way to create big plays because as great as Jonathan Taylor is and as great as the offensive line has been, there's some darn good run defenses in there too. And if the secondary doesn't respect you at all over the top, then you're going to have a problem with these stacked boxes again. I think the Chiefs gave you a little bit of a blueprint here. The Steelers, they got after it and forced a lot of turnovers. Obviously, the D-line is really good. But I think this is going to be the problem with the Colts is that when they play teams that prevent these explosive plays and are going to dare Daniel Jones to throw it over their heads, this is where we get the flaws of Daniel Jones. And again, I was as big a Daniel Jones optimist as anybody because he could do the fundamental things underneath that Anthony Richardson couldn't.
Right.
But you run into this problem where teams, the really good defenses, Kansas City, Houston, Seattle, they're not going to respect him over the top. He's going to have to take a shot or 2 early in some of these games just to make them respect him.
Yeah, I mean, my stat that told the story is you get to the 4th quarter in overtime, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. It's not always on one guy, and I'm not necessarily trying to be overly harsh on Daniel Jones, but at some point your quarterback that can be a playoff quarterback for you has to be able to make that something more than 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out.
And if you give the Chiefs,
it's got to be more than that.
And if you, it's been known for years, if you leave the Chiefs any sort of pulse, especially on that field, this game was 20-9,
right?
But it was just continually 3 and out. Okay, we're just going to try to run the clock out. You're not going to be able to just run the clock out on the Chiefs.
Yeah,
you have to kill them. We've known this for years.
And the results following 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out were touchdown, punt, field goal, game over.
It was a classic Chiefs.
That's how it happens.
Classic Chiefs game is what it was.
This is a little bit off the cuff here, but I think it's worth having somewhat of a Daniel Jones conversation because you are still correct in what you talked about at the beginning of the season, where, hey, I like this fit of Daniel Jones with this team. The difference is you're almost viewing him on a different plane because of how well they started, right? How unbelievable their offense was. And now that they aren't quite that right now, you go, oh, see, like they're just bad. And bad's not the right word. I think they are regressing probably towards what they were always going to be from a most likely outcome. And I think that people see that as a negative. But we obviously these next, 6 weeks for them?
Yeah.
6 weeks for them are going to be huge for a lot of reasons. Division seeding, where you are in the playoffs at all whatsoever. But I also think for a Daniel Jones contract in the future, right? Because he is on a one-year deal. He's a free agent this upcoming offseason. I think that if you would have asked this question 3 weeks ago, it's, oh my goodness, he's getting the beyond Baker Mayfield deal. You know, like he's getting like a Sam Darnold type of a deal, but maybe even more. Look how he is playing. We talked about him in the MVP conversation. Now I think it's fair, and I don't think there's a right answer here at this point, but all of a sudden that contract situation for Daniel Jones gets a lot more tricky because depending on how they play in these last 6 weeks, you're almost in the same situation the Giants were in 2022, where he plays really well for you, but you look at a total body of work for him in his career, and it doesn't exactly line up with a player that you would want to give a lot of future money to. Now, if you sign him to a 3-year deal, most of it's in the first year, second year you could get out of it. Okay, I think that could potentially be the case. But there's going to be some teams who need a quarterback this offseason, who I think would gladly drive the price up for Daniel Jones. And of course, when you talk about franchise tagging a quarterback, that's a lot of money. So all of a sudden, this quarterback conversation and contract situation with the Colts and with Daniel Jones has gotten a lot more interesting given how he's played over the last couple of weeks.
No, absolutely. I think it just comes with the idea. Look, he's played very well considering the environment he's been given, right? And he's been able to lean on Jonathan Taylor in the run game. But we knew this about Daniel Jones going in because he was the polar opposite of Anthony Richardson. There are limitations, right? It's basically once you get outside that 15-yard box of throwing the ball, there isn't a whole lot there. He's 26 in the league in deep passing grade. He's just not going to make a ton of vertical throws. He doesn't have an arm.
That just doesn't sound like a quarterback that I'm giving a lot of money to outside of 1 year.
This is the problem.
Right.
And that's a quarterback. And yes, look, is it hard to find quarterbacks who are even capable of winning a Super Bowl? Yeah. But it feels like that's a quarterback who, yes, like he did with the Giants and like he still very well could do this year and should do at 8-3, right? He can get you to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But can he challenge these types of defenses?
Right.
I think that's the question we're going to continue to ask every single week against the Houstons and Jacksonvilles and Seattles of the world in the next month and a half.
And I think we'll get that question answered for sure. I think that it might come down to, because you know how much success Jones has had with Indianapolis this year. If you look at these other teams that might have, quarterback needs, they're going to be teams that are not good, right? I mean, like the Jets are one of them, all due respect. The Raiders are going to be one of them. Like, I'm just kind of thinking off the top of my head, like,
that situation in Minnesota is pretty interesting.
So, Minnesota, I guess, is maybe the big curveball here because what I was about to say is it might come down to how much money Daniel Jones wants to get. Like, does he, at this point in his career, does he prioritize maximizing his money? Because if he does, I think he'll be able to get more money outside of Indianapolis because I think they're going to have a full body of work from one season and say this is what we think he is worth, and we think that other teams might be more desperate. However, Jones might look at this situation and say, my best chance to be good is in Indy, so I'm going to give them a little bit of a hometown discount, if you will, to come back in that situation. But The Minnesota one, obviously, depending on what they think of J.J. McCarthy at the end of the year, getting to work with Kevin O'Connell all of a sudden, I think, also is a pretty ideal situation.
You also have another layer to this problem of the Sauce Gardner trade and not having a first-round pick in each of the next 2 years also.
That's true, right.
So
right.
are the Colts all of a sudden, would they be then backed into a corner of having to keep Daniel Jones for at least two guaranteed years to get them through that part of it? It was always going to be the interesting dynamic of that trade. They got a hell of a lot better on defense, getting, I think, the best corner in football in there, and they've looked better in coverage. Even in this game, they didn't look awful. Their defense was on the field for 96 snaps in this game. But when we look at trading away 2 first-round picks, you're really taking a gamble here, and if the gamble doesn't pay off with Daniel Jones down the line, then you have a real problem on your hands.
Yeah, because I think that Brandon in the chat I do agree with this in some regard. He's saying Spags and the Chiefs just dropped more tape for DeMeco Ryans to use versus the Colts, right? And I think that's the unfortunate part is you've got 6 more games to go. Anthony Campanile is a great defensive coordinator with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously, DeMeco Ryans and what that defense is there. And then would you say it's the Seahawks and the 49ers?
Yeah.
So you're looking at Mike McDonald and Robert Saleh. Like, these are dudes who are smart defensive minds. So if you kind of gave teams a blueprint, if it is a blueprint, I'm not saying for sure it is, but if you gave them a blueprint and it is, we might see Jones and the Colts kind of struggle down the stretch.
I don't think it's a complex blueprint. I think it's the same one we talk about with the Lions every week. If you stop the run, okay, make the quarterback beat you.
Right,
I don't think it's all that. And that's what most DCs are trying to do anyway. Hey, we stop the run, we feel good about our chances. But
right.
I think against this team or against the Detroit Lions, it's more exaggerated because you don't feel like the quarterback can carry them through the hard times like that.
Anyways, Rashee Rice was excellent in this game. He was all over the place. He was the offensive X factor, and he absolutely needs to be. Like, he is the Chiefs had – how many carries did they have in this game? Kareem Hunt alone had 30.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes had 4. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 5. Brashard Smith had 1. Travis Kelce had 1. Like, they were all they had more than 40 rush attempts in this game. I don't know how many were exactly designed because Patrick Mahomes probably had a couple of those that were scrambles in there. But around 40 carries, I never would have expected that to be the case with the Chiefs, especially in this must-win game. I did not think they were going to lean on the run game as much as they did in this one. But obviously, it turned out to be something that they felt pretty good about. Kareem Hunt, 3.5 yards per carry average. He had a couple of decent runs in this game that you felt good about, but Rashee Rice, to me, was the big X factor in what he was able to do in the passing game. He got 12 targets, 8 receptions, 141 yards, ton of yards after the catch, just because he's a fantastic athlete. He, to me, holds the key to their offense. He really does. I think Kelce, we know what he is at this point, and that's still a reliable piece in this offense, but the run game's not going to be super dynamic. Xavier Worthy feels like sort of like him and Tyquan Thornton feel like kind of like coin flip players. Like, hey, are you getting an explosive or you're not? Rashee Rice, I think this offense goes as Rashee Rice goes.
No, I agree. And it was important for them to get the run game going, even just to control possession and get enough, especially against another ball control team in the Colts. So credit to them for running the football well, and credit to this offensive line. Creed Humphrey especially, man. When you have the best center in football, you hope he plays every week like the best center in football, and that's what he did this game. 77.9 pass blocking grade, only 1 pressure allowed. How about 10 positively graded run blocks for the center for the Kansas City Chiefs? 86.1 run blocking grade. So just outstanding. You talk about running between the tackles, and I think on the other end of it, the Colts, they're missing DeForest Buckner in a game like this. They really needed him. Creed Humphrey was controlling the inside enough for the Chiefs to be somewhat productive on the ground. That made a big difference for them.
Yeah. This was such a fun game. It was fun to see. It's been fun to see the Chiefs in these one-score type of games and have to do things that, I don't know, like obviously last year they pulled a ton out on their way to the playoffs, but this year with them struggling in some of the one-score games, and it's just fun watching the best in the world have their backs against the wall, and we get to see them come out on top in ways like this. So this is a very fun matchup. I cannot wait to see how Indianapolis continues to play down the stretch, because this is going to tell us a lot about what this offseason is like for them and a team that was very aggressive when it came to the trade deadline.